What are you reading, Miss Armstrong?
Mr. McAllister's book exposing the scandals of upper-class New Yorkers, and he doesn't spare this house.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most noteworthy events and plot points from HBO's The Gilded Age that are historically accurate, as well as the creative liberties taken by creator Julian Fellowes. As we'll be discussing plot details, a spoiler alert is now in effect.
Do you admit when you're wrong, Mama?
I don't need to. I'm never wrong.
Number 20, Teddy Bear, Wrong. In the Season 2 premiere, Peggy Scott finally uncovers the truth about her son Thomas. He was not stillborn, as her father Arthur had claimed, but was secretly given up for adoption.
If you're expecting me to say I'm sorry,
We'd never be so foolish as to expect that.
then what do you want from me?
We are catching an early train to Philadelphia. We intend to find my son, and we'd like your assistance.
Tragically, Thomas succumbed to scarlet fever, as did his adoptive mother, who contracted the illness from him. After visiting his grave, Peggy goes to the home where he lived and looks through his room. There, she finds his favorite toy, a stuffed bear, which his adoptive father allows her to keep.
He loved this bear. His mother should have his favorite toy.
It's a deeply emotional moment, but it raises a small historical quibble. Since the show is set in the early 1880s, Thomas wouldn't have had a teddy bear, as they weren't invented until 1902, and only became widely available the following year.
Oh, bother. How long will that take?
Days, weeks, months, who knows?
Number 19, The Squeaky Clean New York Streets, Wrong. The Gilded Age gets many things right when it comes to the architecture and costumes of the 1880s. However, it glosses over one major aspect of life in that era, the pervasive filth. In truth, New York City at the time was disgusting.
Commissioner Brunt said you wish to view the points in all its splendor and squalor. Spare nothing concerning the conditions, said he.
Yeah, nothing except our safety, Constable.
The streets were littered with trash and horse manure, and the gutters brimmed with sewage. This was true even for highbrow areas. As a result, it was commonplace for people to spit openly, even inside their carriages.
What's the matter? It's disgusting.
Yet the series presents a version of the city so pristine, one might be tempted to eat off of the sidewalks. It also omits the heavy air pollution that came with rapid industrialization, from factory smoke to the coal and wood heating used in most homes.
But you must let these things evolve. And working conditions? Huh? Must they evolve too while men are maimed and killed through bad practice? Life is a dangerous business, Mr. Henderson.
Number 18, The Steelworkers Strike, Right. In the second season, George Russell heads to Pittsburgh to deal with a potential strike at his steel mill. After protracted talks with labor leaders fail, he attempts to remove the striking workers to make way for scabs. This leads to a tense moment where George considers the use of violence, but ultimately relents.
Tell them to stand down.
What?
Tell them.
Don't weaken now!
Tell them! Captain, stand down the troops!
Company, recover! Front rank, stand!
This storyline draws inspiration from the infamous Homestead Strike of 1892, which unfolded just outside Pittsburgh. In the show, George faces off against the Amalgamated Association of Iron and Steel Workers, the same union involved in the historical event. Like George, Andrew Carnegie, the industrial titan at the center of the real-life conflict, was perceived as having pro-labor sympathies. That is, until the historical strike turned violent.
Frick's sending in the Pinkertons. These guys are trouble, but we'll be ready for them. We don't know how many there'll be, but no matter what, we're gonna fight, and we're gonna win. Are you ready? Yeah! Let's go!
Number 17, Divorced Women Being Ostracized, Right. For the first 2 seasons of The Gilded Age, Aurora Fane remains a peripheral character. However, she is thrust into the narrative spotlight in the Season 3 premiere when her husband, Charles, admits to having an affair and asks for a divorce.
You'll divorce me, of course.
Why? It's what you want. I don't.
That's how it's done. A gentleman doesn't divorce his wife.
Maybe, but he can treat her badly, can't he?
You'll be protected. Nothing will be done that is not as you would have it.
That's not true, is it? Because I don't want to be divorced.
Aurora initially refuses, but she ultimately agrees to dissolve the marriage. Despite being the one scorned, it is Aurora who bears the consequences, as she is ostracized by New York high society.
Mrs. Vane, I hope you don't catch your husband's chill. And with that, I will take my leave.
That was sudden. Charles has driven her away, together with his mistress.
This dramatic turn is not without historical precedent. While divorce is common today, it was rare at the time, and often amounted to social assassination for women. Also, as Aurora points out to Agnes and Ada in the season premiere, Newport was indeed a haven for wealthy divorcees back then.
But why do you have to do anything?
He has no grounds. He needs me to divorce him. That's what the law states. And if it comes to it, Newport is better. It can be settled in private there. In New York, the press is allowed into the court.
Number 16, Ward McAllister's downfall. Right. History has a way of repeating itself. Decades before Truman Capote was cast out of New York high society for airing the dirty linen of his swans in La Côte Basque 1965, the exact same thing happened to Ward McAllister.
I'm sorry, sir. I don't have your name.
What?
Mrs. Astor checked the list of those invited, and I'm afraid you're not on it.
Mrs. Astor has barred me from the event?
Portrayed in the show by Nathan Lane, McAllister was a trusted confidant of Mrs. Astor and self-appointed gatekeeper of elite society. However, just as dramatized in the penultimate episode of Season 3, his social ring crumbled in 1890 when he published the tell-all book Society as I Have Found It, detailing the private affairs of his high society friends.
Now, you mentioned, not by name, of course, but there is one couple that people say is meant to be us. Mr. Fish is furious.
This resulted in his social expulsion, a charge led by none other than Mrs. Astor. McAllister would die 5 years later while dining alone at New York's Union Club.
It appears that I'm not going anywhere in society unless you can save me.
I can't. I haven't the power. And nothing is more perilous than to overestimate your own power.
Number 15, Mrs. Fish's parties. Wrong.
Come on, you must play something.
But we're having such a nice time where we are.
What makes you think I brought you here to have a nice time?
During the actual Gilded Age, it was said that if Mrs. Fish invited you to a party, you went. No questions asked. In Season 1, Glattis and Larry Russell attend one of such parties, where Glattis bonds with Carrie Astor. However, for as strange as this party is depicted, it's far tamer than the real-life spectacles Mamie Fish was known for.
This is my baby's party, really. Isn't it, honey? Now, we all pick a doll and we make sure they have enough to eat and drink throughout the afternoon.
On one occasion, she promised an appearance by the mysterious Prince del Drago of Corsica, only for guests to discover that the supposed prince was just a monkey in a suit. Outlandish though they were, these extravagant parties were the talk of the town, and only intensified the desire of the nouveau riche to gain entry into the world of old money.
Now finish up and come into the parlor.
Oh dear, more games.
Do you have any objections, Mrs. Russell?
Not in the least, Mrs. Fish.
Number 14, Peggy's narrow escape in Alabama. Right. The second season sees Peggy journey to the American South for the first time to cover a story at the Tuskegee Institute in Alabama. While there, she and her editor, T. Thomas Fortune, have a heated encounter with two white men at a restaurant.
You best sit down, boy. This here's Mason Stark. He's the county commissioner.
Stark?
I'm gonna have to teach you a lesson so you understand your place.
The incident forces them to flee the town in a wagon and hide in a barn to avoid being lynched. For Peggy, it's a harrowing introduction to the brutal realities of Southern racism, a daily threat many black people faced at the time.
My mother warned me, but I never could have imagined this.
This is my fault. I grew up with these people. I should have protected you and held my tongue.
But that's not who you are.
And that's not who you are either.
Her character is partially inspired by Ida B. Wells, the trailblazing journalist whose searing exposés on lynching garnered international attention. According to Julian Fellowes, Peggy's experience in Alabama will motivate her to use her writing as a tool of activism, much like Wells did.
William showed me your article in the South. It seemed a rather angry and violent subject for a young woman to write about.
It is violent, Mother.
and angry. Someone has to write about it.
Number 13, the woman behind the Brooklyn Bridge. Right. While George Russell heads to Pennsylvania, he entrusts Larry with representing him at a meeting regarding the Brooklyn Bridge project. At the meeting, Larry is surprised to learn that the project is being overseen not by the chief engineer, Washington Roebling, but by his wife, Emily.
Stress analysis, cable construction, calculating catenary curves, and the rest.
So you learn those things?
I know it is all considered beyond the grasp of a mere woman, but I did.
This is historically accurate. The Brooklyn Bridge was initially conceived by John A. Roebling, who suffered a devastating injury before construction began and died shortly after. His son, Washington, assumed the role of chief engineer, but became bedridden in 1872 due to decompression disease.
And then you took over?
Not at first. We worked together. I would deliver his orders and designs, but he got worse.
And then it was just you?
Over the next 11 years, Emily Roebling, an engineer herself, took over his responsibilities and supervised construction until the bridge was completed in 1883. When it finally opened, she became the first person to cross it by carriage.
I would like us all to raise a glass to Emily Roebling to thank her for her enormous contribution to the creation of the Brooklyn Bridge. A new wonder of the world.
Hear, hear.
Number 12, the Temperance Movement. Wrong. Season 3 begins with major changes in the Van Ryn household. Agnes Van Ryn has lost control of the home after falling into financial ruin and being rescued by her sister Ada, who inherited a fortune from her late husband.
Well, I still own this house, don't I?
But Aunt Ada will be paying their wages.
Things may be a little different in the future, Agnes.
With her newfound wealth and control, Ada decides to pursue a cause she holds dear, the Temperance Movement. She joins the Women's Christian Temperance Union, but her involvement is frequently ridiculed, not only by Agnes, but also by her typically supportive niece, Marion.
I just wondered if you'd given it any thought.
I have. But I'm afraid I struggle to see what's wrong with having a glass of wine at dinner or Jack wanting some beer on his day off.
I thought you might say that.
Although the show correctly highlights the rise of the temperance movement during the Gilded Age, it mishandles the reactions of the characters. In reality, the movement held broad appeal among women, many of whom suffered domestic violence fueled by their husbands' drinking.
Alcohol is the scourge of many families, and I want to support causes that are close to my heart as a way to honor Luke's memory.
Number 11, Glattis's marriage to the Duke. Right. It's hardly a secret that the Russells are modeled after the illustrious Vanderbilt family, and in its third season, the Gilded Age leaned further into that historical parallel.
Well, I suppose we still have some things to talk about.
And of course you remember Glattis.
Glattis, we have much to look forward to.
The season begins with Glattis Russell and Billy Carlton becoming secretly engaged. However, their plans are swiftly derailed by Bertha, who has already arranged a marriage between Glattis and the Duke of Buckingham.
I'm trying to protect her future. Won't you help me?
Bertha, you cannot expect her to marry a man she doesn't like.
She doesn't know him. If she gives him a chance, she'll like him well enough.
Bertha's scheme is eventually realized in the 4th episode, when a tearful Glattis reluctantly marries the Duke. This plot is lifted almost directly from the life of Consuelo Vanderbilt, the daughter of railroad tycoon William Vanderbilt and his wife Alva. Like Glattis, Consuelo was forbidden from marrying her true love and forced to wed the Duke of Marlborough. Both reluctant brides arrived late to their weddings with tears in their eyes.
And forsaking all others, keep thee only unto him, so long as ye both shall live.
I will.
Number 10, the real-life figures. Right. While The Gilded Age is a historical drama, most of the lead characters in its first season are largely fictional. However, the show still grounds its storytelling in authenticity by including a number of real-life socialites, and does its best to remain faithful to their actual lives.
Well, here we are, all of us together. what could be nice.
Characters like Mrs. Astor, Ward McAllister, and Mamie Fish were historical figures who dominated the upper echelons of New York society, and initially turned their noses up at new money families.
She's tenacious. I'll give her that.
Smile and take it as a compliment. It is a compliment, if you knew the number of times she's pretended I didn't exist.
The show includes, among others, T. Thomas Fortune, the highly influential editor of the New York Age, then The Globe, where Peggy Scott is hired to write, and Clara Barton, who was the founder of the American Red Cross.
May I ask you some questions for my article?
Of course.
Will the Red Cross extend its help to all who suffer, despite race?
We will turn no one away who is in need, Miss Scott.
Number 9. The Black Press. Right. One of the show's lead characters, Peggy Scott, is a promising black writer who dreams of becoming a published author.
Short stories, articles, and I hope one day to write a novel.
How ambitious.
Peggy submits her stories to the Christian Advocate, but turns down their offer after she's asked to conceal her race and also change that of her story's protagonist. This leads to Peggy taking up a writing job with the black newspaper, the New York Globe, which was helmed by the great T. Thomas Fortune.
I'm publishing the story you submitted next week, and I want you to write something about that, too.
About what?
What you just said. Political affiliation without voting rights. 200 words. Good to meet you, Miss Scott.
The Gilded Age sets itself apart from other period dramas by accurately representing prominent black families of that era. It also highlights how important the New York Age paper was for black writers whose voices had largely been silenced due to racism.
We'll get the subscriptions, but not by kowtowing to the Republican Party.
A lot of colored people still believe in them. Remember, Lincoln was a Republican.
Which is why we must expose their shortcomings and demand more.
Number 8. Agnes Van Ryn's employment of Peggy Scott. Wrong. When we first meet Peggy Scott, she offers a helping hand to Marion Brooke, lending her the train fare after her purse is stolen, and the two strike up a friendship.
I'm sorry, it's not first class.
Nonsense, you've been very kind, especially when I tore your skirt.
In return, Marion persuades her aunts to let Peggy stay with them because of the weather. After discovering her excellent penmanship skills, Agnes makes Peggy an offer of employment.
Clearly I'm in need of help with my correspondence. I don't know what your plans are, but if you're interested, I would like to hire you as my secretary.
Now, while friendships between black and white women were not necessarily rare at the time, it would have been highly unlikely for a woman of Agnes Van Ryn's status to hire a black woman as her secretary. Even the show's historical consultant, Professor Erica Armstrong Dunbar, noted in a Vanity Fair interview that it's an atypical offer and would most likely never have happened.
You're a New Yorker now. We both are. And for a New Yorker, anything is possible.
Number 7. The Statue of Liberty's hand. Right. In the 3rd episode of the show, Marion is invited to see the Statue of Liberty's hand at Madison Square Park by her late father's lawyer Tom Rakes, who has his sights set on marrying her.
What?
The hand from the proposed Statue of Liberty. It was sent over here 6 years ago to raise funds, but soon it's going back to France.
That sounds like something I would like to see.
She arrives at the park with Peggy, and both women are taken aback by the sheer size of the sculpture.
If that's her hand, what size would the Statue of Liberty be?
Big.
Tom notes it's being displayed in New York to raise funds for the statue's pedestal. Although the sculpture only serves as a backdrop in Marion and Tom's courtship, its presence is historically accurate. The real Statue of Liberty's hand and torch called Madison Square Park its home from 1876 to 1882, the latter year being when the Gilded Age begins.
So, when it goes to France and gets stuck onto the statue's arm, then it will come back here?
That's the idea.
Number 6. Thomas Edison lights up New York City. Right.
Taming electricity is probably the most important innovation of our lifetime.
And is that something to celebrate?
I think so. I wish I was there.
In his retelling of the societal tussle between old and new money families in 1880s New York, Julian Fellowes expertly weaves real historical events into his fictional world. One of such events was Thomas Edison lighting up the New York Times building on September 4th, 1882.
He invited me to attend. I'm to meet him for a terribly grand dinner in time for the evening illuminations.
Well, why didn't you say this before?
I didn't think it would interest you.
Of course it does. All I want to know is, how long do we have to wait before we install it at home?
Although Fellowes pretty much errs on the side of accuracy, he takes some creative license with it by pushing the event from 3 p.m. in real life to when it's much darker out on the show for a more dramatic effect. Also, while the show has Edison flip the switch in front of the New York Times building, in real life, the famed inventor turned it on at his Pearl Street station, which then illuminated the news organization. Number 5. Segregation and racial animosity in the North. Right. Going into the writing process for The Gilded Age, series creator Julian Fellowes intended to make a distinctively American show that was truly reflective of the 1880s clime. To achieve this, he sought to include multiple well-rounded black characters and an accurate portrayal of their experience in a post-Civil War New York.
Why would you change an integral part of the story?
Because it would cost us most of our readership in the South. I don't approve of the system, I can say that. But once gone, those people would not be back.
While a lot of the atrocious crimes associated with segregation and racism frequently occurred in the South, there was still palpable animosity towards black people in the North. These racial tensions are mostly depicted through the eyes of Peggy Scott.
I don't understand.
You've just discovered injustice. I've lived with it my whole life. If I spent every day fighting with bigots, I'd never get anything done.
We witness her realistic experiences dealing with racism from newspaper editors, carriage drivers, and even from the white servants at the Van Ryn household.
She's on the same floor as us.
Is there some difficulty? Ah, there you are then.
Number 4. Rapid economic growth and influx of immigrants. Right. The historical era from 1870 to 1900, referred to as the Gilded Age, was a period of rapid industrialization that brought with it the fastest economic growth rate in U.S. history.
This is a great city in a great country, at a great time in our history. I want to be part of it, Father.
This caused an unprecedented increase in wages that pulled in millions of immigrants from Europe and Asia. The most prominent sector in this period was the railroad industry, which fetched its proprietors, men like George Russell, so much wealth and made them highly influential figures at the time.
Madam, $100.
It won't help you, you know. This sort of stunt does not impress the people you want to win over.
Mrs. Morris, this sort of stunt impresses everyone.
But as prosperous as this period was for the likes of the Astors and the Russells, it was the exact opposite for the poor. The period saw a significant wealth disparity that's portrayed on the show through its upstairs-downstairs dynamic.
The richest 4,000 families in the country, less than 1% of all Americans, had scooped up nearly as much treasure as the other 11.6 million families combined.
Number 3. Downstairs happenings. Wrong.
You wish you'd been invited?
Oh, I suppose. What about you?
Maybe we will be one day.
In typical Julian Fellowes fashion, The Gilded Age features a glaring class demarcation, depicting the upstairs lives of affluent New York socialites and the downstairs routines of their domestic servants.
She's gone up to change. He won't be long. I should go.
Tell him I'm making a list of what is not right about this kitchen.
The master won't bother with that. I'll tell the mistress what you want, if you mean it.
For the real-life servants, maintaining the extravagant houses and lifestyles of their socialite employers was a tremendous amount of work that took a significant physical toll on them. As this period came before the advent of electrical appliances, most housework, such as laundry and hot water and cooking large quantities of food, was done manually and posed the threat of extreme fatigue and serious injury. Virtually none of this toiling is portrayed on the HBO show, with the servants spending most of their time just discussing the lives of their upper-class masters.
I wonder if they'll try to set him up with Miss Marion.
He wants an heiress, the richest he can find, and Miss Marion hasn't a penny to her name.
If you finish demolishing the characters of every member of this family, John and I will serve luncheon. Are you ready, Mrs. Bauer?
I am.
Number 2. A thriving black elite. Right. One thing The Gilded Age does right is its representation of a vibrant community of black entrepreneurs and their businesses.
There were newspapers, there were politicians, there were lawyers, there were scientists. People were like, we're going full throttle into assuming our rights and our freedoms.
Set less than 2 decades after slavery was abolished, the show features a black elite on a very similar path to wealth creation as the other wealthy white characters. It presents an often overlooked story of freedom and prosperity that black aristocrats used in fortifying the arsenal that shielded them from the blistering racial discrimination of that era.
If we don't show the story,
of Black triumph, of Black joy, alongside trials, tribulation, violence even. And we don't have a complete picture.
Not only does the cast of characters include real-life figures like T. Thomas Fortune, it features fictional characters inspired by real people, such as Peggy Scott's father, Arthur Scott. He is in fact based on Philip Augustus White, a successful pharmacist in New York.
His background was quite complex in that he was a slave, was freed in emancipation, made his way up north, became a pharmacist, a strong member of the Black elite.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions. Immigrants arriving at Ellis Island. Wrong. The show is set in the 1880s, but Ellis Island didn't receive immigrants until 1892.
Aurora has invited Mrs. Russell to luncheon.
She has.
And who else will be there? The latest arrivals from Ellis Island?
Use of salt shakers. Wrong. Bertha Russell uses a salt shaker, but those were not common until the 1910s.
Well, these things take time.
Antonin de Vaujrac's presence in New York. Wrong. De Vaujrac didn't come to New York until 1892, so he couldn't have played in the 1880s.
Mr. Dvorak played until I thought his fingers would fall off. And then he spoke about composing and we couldn't understand a word.
The architectural prowess of Stanford White. Right. The notable architect designed extravagant New York mansions for wealthy families.
I'm pleased with the size. Big enough to be splendid without being oppressively so.
I agree. One needs to be able to breathe.
The Opera House. Right. Just like in real life, the old money families were vehemently against the opening of the Metropolitan Opera House.
The opera war is really heating up.
Why does there have to be a war? Why can't the Academy create more boxes for the new people to rent?
Because the Academy of Music is one of the last bastions of decency and standards in this city. We will not patronize any jumped-up opera house.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Old money versus new money. Right.
What's the difference?
The old have been in charge since before the Revolution. They ruled justly until the new people invaded.
It's not quite as simple as that.
Yes, it is.
The major storyline of the Gilded Age deals with the conflict between the old money Van Ryn Brooke family and the new money Russell family who live across the street from them. While this living situation would have been highly unlikely, their conflict is still rooted in authenticity. Instead of the British royal titles, Americans rose to influence on the strength of their bank accounts. However, even among the rich, the old money fixtures with Dutch heritage, who made their name through real estate and fur trading, acted as social gatekeepers against the new railroad millionaires.
We cannot hope to keep out the new people entirely, or they'd form their own society that would exclude us. You know this.
Yes.
This conflict, both on the show and in real life, raises important questions of human nature and our reluctance to acknowledge the inevitability of change.
I am curious about that house.
Really? You are glad to be ordered to march into hell and to dance with the devil?
I wonder sometimes if you don't slightly overstate your arguments.
Are you watching The Gilded Age? What are your favorite moments of the show so far? Let us know in the comments below.
I'm sure they have better things to do than monitor your activities.
I can't think of any.